Hi folks, this is Misty Steps. I'm Misty. Come on in and get comfy, kick your shoes off, grab a drink, and let's get into it. Because today I'm going to show you how I personally prep for running a campaign module that's pre-written, and I have session 2 in just a few days as I'm filming this, so let's get into it. The campaign I am running is Beyond The Witchlight, and I am actually running a 2024 version of it. So all of the stat blocks in here I am replacing with the 2024 stat blocks, mostly because my characters wanted to try 2024 rules. And it so far worked well. We're only at level 2 though, so more to come on that. And my characters just got to Prismere. So our last and first session we had gotten through the carnival, and now they are in Prismere. So my first step for any sort of module running is flipping through this book and seeing, is there things in here that I want to take out or want to heavily emphasize, or that don't really make sense to what our team wants. Now, I have skimmed over everything just to get kind of the high level as to what is important versus what isn't. And for at least this first area that they're in, Hither, it feels very sandboxy up until they get to Downfall. And I kind of like that. These players are all very new to the game of D&D, so I like the idea that there's multiple things for them to interact with and they can kind of pick where they go when. But I want to make sure that I make notes as to what they choose or what they believe to be important, so that if they really latch on to, say, Sir Talimvar, the fairy dragon that they can meet at the Slanty Tower, they can interact with him and talk with him, and maybe he can come up later, even if he's not originally written in to come up later. He's not just going to disappear. I want to make sure that if they decide something is significant, I bring that back. So when I DM, again, I DM all in person, but what I do is I have my laptop behind the DM screen with me, and I take notes as to what they do, what they interact with, just quick little bullet points as the session goes on. So I do have a document prepared for that, but that's also where I'm going to put my notes for what I'm changing. Very loose spoilers for this campaign moving forward. Okay, so session 2, we left off with them on the Queensway overpass looking over Prismere. That's where we left off as they hit level 2. And as they get down, instead of them getting robbed immediately, I want to have them take a moment and really get the vibes set. So instead of Herringons holding them at gunpoint, or they will hear the marching song in the distance and they will instead just see the stilt walkers being harmless but creepy. They will see the Slanty Tower and the large hill on the way to the tower. So they can either choose to go towards the marching song or towards the tower and the hill. Regardless of where they choose to go, I want to make sure that, again, I'm setting the vibe. So regardless of where they choose to go, I'm going to have the water start rising, because that is a environmental plot in this that I think can be really fun, especially because one of our characters has a fear of water. And I do mean the character. The player doesn't mind water, but the character does, and that's going to be fun to mess with. I want them to notice that this swamp that they're in, and the wet and the damp and the moss and mud, doesn't feel quite natural, and I want them to be able to see that underneath all that moss and mud, this land wasn't originally a swamp. Like, there's remnants of something that wasn't a swamp here before, you know, the lush forest meadow flora and fauna remnants are still there. Okay, so I've basically narrowed it down to what happens then if they go towards Agdon Longscarf and the Herringons, or if they head to Slanty Tower and Telemy Hill. Regardless of what direction they choose, we're going to have the water start to rise to get that going, and then it's going to disappear as quickly as it came. As they walk, they're going to see that this swamp is not the natural state of this area, they're going to know pretty quickly that something isn't right here. And I think that that's important to really emphasize early on, that something here isn't right and that they're going to need to find the cause of it. So if they go towards the slanty tower and not the brigands or Agden, they will see the water start rising again after a while, though as it hits knee level, this time they hear someone calling out and offering help, and they're going to be introduced to the inn at the end of the road with Sue. She explains the rules around Prismere as far as the courtesy rules that they have written in book, and the Feywild is kind of our lore drop. She's going to give our lore drop in that instance. And she can give a bit of insight as to what is going on, the fact that there are hags. She's going to be our lore teller in that instance and can help them get to the tower should they choose to continue that way. If they go for the brigands and try to fight or successfully fight, take your pick. Either way, they end up back at camp, and then Agdon Longscarf or one of his buddies will be the lore drop and explain things to them. But he'll probably suggest that they head to Slanty Tower anyways, because they thought it might have something. They saw the balloon crash, it might have something exciting, or that Jingle might have something that could help them in Downfall, since Jingle has all of those keys. Hopefully, this gets them to the right part of the adventure and find the inn so that they have a place to rest for the night safely. I expect this session to end before they hit Downfall, I think is the goal here, is that I'm trying to get them to do Hither before hitting Downfall. And Downfall's going to be portrayed as, you know, spooky, scary witch's lair, hag lair. And I think all of them, even though being new to D&D, will know that, like, that's a boss fight, and maybe don't be level 2 when you hit that. My characters also have lost things, so I went with the lost things plot twist in the book that suggests that characters have lost things before to the Lornlings at the Witchlight Carnival. So I'm gonna start dropping some hints as they get through this adventure. So I know we're just session 2, but they're going to start. So for example, Callisto is our rogue, and she has forgotten family memories. Like, she doesn't know who her family is. She knows she had one, she knows what a family is, but she has no recollection of them. That was her lost thing or stolen thing. So we're going to start out pretty small. We're not going to give everything away, but as they explore, either after maybe she can pick a lock and do, you know, cool rogue things, or defeats the Herringons, or does something cool like that, I want to make sure that I emphasize that she feels the feeling of a warm hug from someone, and maybe doesn't recall the full face of them, but a very warm, comforting hug from an older person that was larger than her as a child. A mom, basically. Just a quick example. I also made sure to note what they won versus what they have as far as from the Witchlight Carnival. I did cut a lot of stuff in the Witchlight Carnival because there was a lot of NPCs and a lot of things happening as far as the Monarch and talking to this person that leads you to talking to this person and doing just a ton of these fetch quests was a lot. That is a huge plot. That really doesn't amount to a lot of payoff, so I skipped a good chunk of it. They do still have a lot of stuff that they want to do with the carnival, but I figure they can always go back to the carnival once this is resolved at the end, and they can celebrate at the carnival, and they can have all of the funnel cake their heart desires. They can reunite the kiddos with their long lost parents at the end. Happy fuzzy ending all the way around, even if it means that they didn't get to meet everyone that the book had in store. I'm also not putting a ton of detail into these notes because I do have the PDF version of the book as well as the hard copy version. So by having that, I don't really need to go into detail as much because I can just Control F Agdon Longscarf, find his lore, and tell them then. I don't need to spend my time coming up or creating it with that. So I think we have everything I'm gonna need for this session. I know that was pretty quick, but I don't think you guys need to watch me read a whole module. But there's a lot to be done here, and I'm paring down a lot of it. And I think that that's important for people to recognize, that you can just do that, and that works as prep just as well. I think the most important thing is just reading through the entire module and determining what isn't important and how much you want to emphasize those things. Because if you try to emphasize every single thing in a module, your players are going to assume that every little thing is important when maybe they're not. All that to say, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and if you have any other module prep tips, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Feel free to like, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you guys next time.